In this video, I'm going to show off all of the pieces you need to understand in order to change the windowed mode between full screen and windowed in Unreal Engine 5. My goal here is to give you all the tools you need to make a more flexible solution in your own project. So let's start diving in. The full screen mode is governed by these EWindowMode enumerable variables. If you want to change the value of the window mode that you're using, you will need to leverage this in some way. For my example, I'm going to have two EWindowMode variables, a full screen mode variable and a windowed mode variable. And inside of a UI element, I'm going to make it so that when we click on this button, we are going to toggle between the two. And the way that we toggle between the two is rather simple. Changing these elements require us to first set what we want to change and then apply the game user settings. So in order to get and use these methods, we're going to need a copy of the game user settings. And to do that, we are going to get the game user settings. This is going to give you a copy of everything that you can think of when it comes to game settings. It's going to give you the resolution that the game is running in. It's going to give you the full screen mode, among a whole bunch of other things that you can look into. But for our purposes, once we have the game user settings, we are then either going to set the game to be full screen mode, or we're going to set the game to be windowed mode. And this is going to be controlled by this flip-flop node that is just going to toggle between the two, because we're not doing anything fancy here. But what's important to understand is when you set the value on the game user settings, that does not force the change. The change is only applied when you apply the setting. Only then will any changes you make to any of the game user setting variables be applied. And then for demonstration purposes, since the difference between a windowed mode and a full screen mode isn't going to be very different if I'm not also changing the resolution, I'm going to print out what is changing or what our current value of the full screen mode is. So those are all the pieces. I've already set it up so that when I hit play, the widget will appear. So when I hit play, we have our widget. And when I click it, you can see in the top left corner, we have our full screen because first we set things to full screen. And then when I click again, we set it to windowed. And with those building blocks in place, you can now see how that can expand to something like this, where I can change to a full screen resolution. I can apply those settings, and then the entire game is going to turn itself into the full screen. And then if I wanted to change it back, I could change both my full screen mode and resolution, change it, and then have the window adjust once more. And that's the absolute basics on changing the full screen mode in Unreal Engine 5. If you want to see a little bit more in depth, let me know. Coming next week, I will go over how to change the game's resolution so that when you are in windowed mode, you can actually change how big the play box is. So stay tuned for that.